What's going on, YouTube? It's the Bushy Beard, and I'm back, and I'm bushier than ever. Right now, we got more middle ground. Let me make sure everything's working.
Why should you?
All right. This one is our All Cops, the B Word, Police versus Criminal Middle Ground. I enjoyed doing the last one, and it did actually pretty well. So I figured, why not keep doing it? I like trying to find middle ground and seeing people come together. And try to find that middle ground. This one obviously seems like it might be a little contentious, obviously, criminals versus police. I'm interested. It's a long one too, so grab your popcorn, grab a drink. I got my water here, coldest water bottle. Now the Limitless one has a new handle and the straw, so go visit Coldest Water Bottle or coldest.com. You can go down to the link below and get your new one. It's like the direct. This isn't sponsored, by the way. They want us to do shorts now. I love this stuff. I love these bottles, and so any chance I get to try to push it on people, I will. It's the direct comparison to like the Stanleys and stuff like that. So, but let's get into it.
You have the right to tote a gun around just because you have a badge.
And you're saying we shouldn't be armed?
You shouldn't have guns at all.
Okay, next time there's an active shooter going into a university, then we're just gonna let him shoot all the students.
You know what? I can't do this. Do this episode with my wife.
Uh-oh. Looks like it gets real contentious.
Step forward if you agree with the prompt. Cops should not carry guns.
Okay,
I mean, there are so many countries in this world that do not have this level of violence within its law enforcement department or any other department. Guns themselves are not the issue. It's the finger behind the gun, because you don't know the mentality, the mind, the heart of the person, and things trigger people and they snap. And no one exempt. Police officer, human being.
I got a huge pimple. Dang, that thing poking out. Sorry, y'all.
Things too, they can snap.
If you took guns away from the uniform, I guarantee you, like, half of them would not be there working,
No,
you know?
it's the power.
Yeah, of course they wouldn't be there working, because they're not gonna. You want them to go in dangerous places without guns? Like, makes zero sense. Yeah, of course they wouldn't be working.
If you had to struggle to submit a perpetrator and to, like, actually do work, police work, like, it's not just about reaching for your gun 99% of the time.
Of course that's what.
So it's like if the gun wasn't part of the uniform, a lot of them wouldn't take that enabling role that they want to.
Yeah, just like if the military didn't have guns. What do you expect? Of course, we wouldn't go to war if there were no weapons in our military. Just like a cop isn't going to go try to stop crime without a gun. Like, what am I?
To take as officers, you know.
Right in front of my building, I was harmed by an older man. When I got away, I went to the police. The detective took me to the hospital, everything, checked me out. You know what the police officer did with having a gun and everything else? Pulled me over, saying he was taking me back home, pulled me over on a dark side of a street and raped me. Because of the uniform, the badge, and the gun that made me freeze. But you, as a police officer.
That's unfortunate. There are going to be bad apples, and that person should be put into prison. That person should never be able to vote again, should never be able to carry a gun again. And that is absolutely unacceptable, especially from somebody who's supposed to serve and protect.
Saying that you were here to protect and to serve, you allowed your power, your uniform, you got everything else to make you think that that was okay. And this happens a lot. It happens a lot.
They want to abuse other people. They want to, tyrants over other people, so they choose jobs like that. Like, what? If you want to help other people, why can't you go be a humanitarian? There's oceans to clean up. Instead, like, everybody just wants to be out here taking rights away from.
I think he just doesn't want cops. I think he just wants to be a criminal, is what it sounds like. And he doesn't want anybody standing in his way. Like,
others and abusing people and getting guns. And the moment
She has actual like evidence, actual things to talk about. All he is like, yeah, cops shouldn't have guns. Yeah, they shouldn't have to, be able to stop me. Blah 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 blah.
the moment you start copying an attitude, literally click. Let's go.
But I don't want
Ready.
to. I don't want to do that to them as they do it to us.
Can the disagreeer step forward?
If someone else has a gun, you gotta defend yourself too. It's just the way you use it. I'm not saying that you should use guns, but I mean, if you have a gun, then you have to use it, of course, but not use it just for traffic stops or people with mental illnesses, stuff like that. That's
But if a person with mental illnesses has a weapon, you gotta be able to defend yourself. Like, mental illness is a big thing in this country, but it's not an excuse to get away with whatever it is that you want to get away with.
out. If they have a knife or
And this is coming from somebody that has a mental illness.
a stick or or a fork, like that doesn't justify anybody getting shot.
So you're for having armed police officers?
Yeah, if someone else has a gun,
Yeah.
if someone else.
I believe that y'all should be armed because I believe in the Constitution. I don't believe in the policing that the police force has done throughout many communities I've been in, but I do believe in rights versus laws, and I do believe that there are dangerous scenes that you go to where it is required to use them. So I have to agree that part of your, like he said, his tool belt needs to include a pistol.
Okay, good, because I was about to challenge you both and say, okay, so you mean to tell me that what happened at Michigan State University with an active shooter killing 5 students, or Ubaldi, where they went into an elementary school and killed children?
With Sandy Hook.
Sandy Hook, what happened over 10 years ago. You're sitting there telling us that we shouldn't be carrying firearms?
Yeah, you shouldn't. Like, if you guys are just traffic cops and stuff like that, you guys shouldn't.
No,
If you guys are like a SWAT
I
team.
think, yeah, you're not answering my question.
Like I said, I'm just going based on what you said. You called me a predator. I'm like, I never done that in my life, right? I've been in situations where I've been shot at. I had 2 members of my department die in the last 2 months. I've been in situations where I've needed my firearm. I've needed every tool in my belt in my career. If you would go out and then see half of the stuff I see, you may change your perception about what you see. It's dangerous.
So you can't call for backup.
Oh my goodness. This guy is oblivious to what's going on. He's absolutely oblivious.
What does me calling for backup having to do with
So
using my-
if you work county, okay, say in my area.
Which I'm a county cop.
Right, and in my area, I mean, you have miles and miles of nothing around you. Your closest partner is maybe if you're lucky, 20 minutes away. Okay. In the meantime, I've got somebody that has me at gunpoint, and if I don't have a gun on my hip, I'm dead. I am a dead man walking because I have nothing that can go up against another gun.
But how do you think felons feel?
There's tasers,
They just-
pepper balls, like.
Tasers. Someone got a gun pointed at you, and you're talking about tasers.
Societal issues are not on the police.
Right.
Like, I'm not stripping you of your rights, right? That is not, you can vote. I don't give a shit. You can vote. You can carry a gun. You can do all that. That is not my job in life. My job is, you've been accused of a crime. I got to take you to jail because this and that and the third. I'm done.
You're saying that we should have pepper spray, tasers to Michigan State University or Ubaldi? Is that what you're saying? So you're telling me that if I'm a cop, I have no gun?
But
right?
also, this,
And
Well, he said to the community, like maybe.
No, that's not what he said.
Maybe
The prompt is, should cops be unarmed? Hold on a second. You just got done watching probably the most tragic incidents probably historically. Ubaldi, may I add. That's kids, for crying out loud. And what you're sitting here saying is that we shouldn't be unarmed. What is it would you like me to do if someone has an AK-47 killing kids? That's my question to you.
We actually have our own rights.
I mean, let him finish.
That we actually have our own rights to carry and defend ourselves in certain situations like that.
You know,
but
with
the
all
full
due
story-
respect, that's not the that's not the question
But-
I'm
but if
asking.
you wanna use your
No, I'm
body-
asking you if you were okay. I'll ask in a different way. If you're a police officer and you have no firearms, you got your pepper spray, you have your taser, you have your baton, and you are responding to Ubaldi Elementary School where there's an active shooter with an AK-47. What are you going to do?
I would say that I would call for backup to the proper authorities that would be entitled to have those weapons that are not in the general community.
I get what he's saying.
No, but what entitled to have weapons? Who? What agency?
So like the
SWAT
UK.
and above, you
Yeah,
know,
what he's
there's
saying.
certain- but we're
It's like
saying
United
that's
Kingdom,
what it is,
how United Kingdom, their special force
Right, that's
in
what
their
I'm
police
saying.
department have weapons, but they're regular.
So why should you just be? Why should you have the ability to just tote around a gun?
yes, you-
That's my question to you.
What's that?
My question to you is, just because you're a cop, why should you have the right to tote a gun around? Just
Because at many traffic stops, people die. People die at traffic stops. And you want people not to have a weapon. If I'm a criminal and I'm like, okay, I know traffic cops don't have guns, I'm always going to have a gun on me. If I don't want to get taken to prison.
because you have a badge.
No. That's not what the prompt is. The prompt is cops being unarmed, cops
Yeah.
being all of
Yeah, but
us.
you use your
Whether
body,
you're
and your
patrol-
body, they took like over an hour to
If you let
respond
me-
when
allow me
they
to
were
finish. He
there. So
asked
you
me
had
a
the guns
question.
and you still didn't
What I'm
shoot.
saying is that
wouldn't have
he's
done that,
saying
but-
cops. Cops is a very, when you say cops to me, you're talking everybody. Every single cop, okay? And you're saying we shouldn't be unarmed, okay?
You shouldn't have guns at all.
Okay, so you know what? Next time there's a big active shooter going into a university, then I guess we're just gonna let him shoot all the students.
So I have a question for you. So all those countries that don't have their police officers carrying guns.
Not many, just so you know.
Oh, I know very well. That's the work that I do.
Okay.
So, and even been there to see that. But what I'm saying is that, have you ever thought about how those countries respond to those situations?
Those countries also don't have the Constitution, which guarantees your right to a firearm to every single person unless that's been stripped away. You got to think about it. It's a different type of scenario in America. It's different than all the other countries. If you're talking about the United Kingdom where their police don't have weapons, they also understand that the majority of citizens don't have weapons. That's not the case here in America.
And can we do the same?
We absolutely could not do the same because we have criminals here, and I'm not speaking of y'all, but there are people here that still carry regardless of if it's against the law. If you were to take guns away from illegals, criminals, people that are not from here, I would 100% agree that officers don't need guns
So
and
are
that
those
we
mass
could go
shooters?
do
Because
what?
I think the mass shooters are not the ones, the immigrants, and the taking it all
No,
away.
but and that's what I'm just giving examples.
Yeah,
I'm
but
just
so
giving
the
examples.
She's right. I mean, it's
Yeah,
so the mass
constitutional.
shooting
It's a
and all
Second
that
Amendment
is-
issue.
A constitutional
second-
right to bear arms, right, allows
It's a right.
everybody in this country to bear arms. Well, not
Which is
everybody,
rare.
not everybody. Let me be specific.
Which is rare. You're looking at the wrong statistics.
If you're a law-abiding citizen to carry guns, the amount of guns that we have in America, doesn't it outweigh the people that we have? Hey, these countries, they don't have a Second Amendment. They don't have a constitutional right to bear arms. So it's a lot easier to say, you know what?
Yeah,
Y'all can't
exactly.
bear arms, so y'all can't bear arms. In this country, we can. So I'm just being, like I said, everything is anecdotal. I've been in situations where I needed my gun, and you were absolutely right. Would I do the job without one? Hell no, because I've been in situations where I needed one, and you know what? I had it. It's equal force. I'm being shot at, I'm about to shoot back. Not just, hey, I have a gun on my hip, I'm just about to, you know what, guns. That's not how I do my job.
And the thing that popped right from that prompt is just active shooter, active shooter, active shooter. That's
And it's not even
To your
it's not even
question- to your
active
question,
shooter.
you know
It's
what?
just being
I haven't
shot
d-
at by itself. In
I
and of
haven't
itself.
done the research, or I don't know if there's any empirical data to know exactly in other countries how they respond to someone who has an AK-47 that goes into a building and starts killing people, and yet we're a police force that doesn't have any firearms. I don't know.
They
I would have to
special
do the
units for it.
research.
They do have special units for it. They're just not out in the street where you see them all the time, 24/7. But you said something, and I want to bring that up. Hold on one sec. You said something. You said that the people with the guns are oftentimes criminals or, people like that. And I want to say that those mass shootings that happen in our country are from people that pass a whole tons of background checks and are law-abiding, to your point, and all these things. And all of a sudden, and that was my point.
Which it goes against what you're saying that they should be. If they're supposedly law-abiding citizens, pass all the background checks, and they're the ones committing the mass murders and the gun violence, that's 100% why anybody who cops need weapons. It's because the law-abiding citizens they have to be worried about too.
Earlier about when people snap or whatever might happen, and we have to be clear in identifying that, because we get labeled like we're the ones doing all these mass shootings, all these things, these horrible, egregious things, and
once they're doing it, they're no longer law-abiding citizens, so they're criminals.
96% of the time,
Yes.
it is not
Right.
a person that was formerly incarcerated.
And to your
or had
point,
a-
we get
so
labeled.
let's be clear on that part.
Right, and then we get labeled as killers.
Right.
I think I've
But that's what I'm
heard
saying, so-
agents of racial genocide is what we've been labeled before. You know, and all this, and again, my point was just, I'm talking about one specific type of, incident where,
But we have to
I
pay
think
attention
everybody
to
would
that,
agree.
though.
I think everybody would agree you'd like to have a
We all have to pay
firearm.
attention to that, though, and be clear and be very honest with that, and identify it, and not try to like, oh, well, it sounds good, and let's get some news on this, and let's just like label them and put everything on them, because that's how we feel, because that is actually what's happening. And then when we know the truth and the facts, and it comes out, it's like that person was never been incarcerated, never had a record, never anything, and do the worst harm to our society, our communities, because believe it or not, the vast majority of us on this side of the fence want safety just as much as you do.
Hey good humans, Zach here, checking in to ask if you're doing your best to be accessible because of data brokers that wants to learn more. Aura provides almost every internet identity theft being used safe. We'll give you in the episode.
They didn't sponsor this video, so that's why I went through it. Police violence is blown out of proportion. Okay. I think the cops are going to sit down for this. I don't know about any of the ex-convicts. Man, that thing is nasty.
Is blown out of proportion.
Okay. Interesting.
I think that really depends on.
That is a completely different thing. Is the people that were against cops having guns are sitting down for this one. That's interesting.
Where you're at, whether it's city, town, I think it really depends on the department, because you have a lot of departments that you see a lot of that stuff, but then you have like the smaller departments that you don't see none of that. And you have community policing. We go out and we do activities with the kids, we do activities with families. Yes, we still do our job, we still pull people over, but we're not, I guess, what you would call harassing people in some of the ways that the big cities do.
But I mean, you technically are though. Like, I mean, justifying your bad behavior and your violence for you guys doing community work, it just doesn't go hand in hand.
But you just sat down that it was blown out of proportion. Why are you already arguing?
I understand people's sentiment where one incident where it looks extremely bad is wrong, and then it casts an entire umbrella over the entire profession. I may have a different perspective or different perception of what you're looking at than you do because I'm in this profession, but the way that I guess that we look at things now in the media, it's blown completely out of proportion.
So when we see the videos of a police officer handling a child, and that cop has become violent towards a child.
And I agree, but my thing is, has it been blown out of proportion? I see that one incident.
We see it a lot.
You do see it a lot, but you have to also take in consideration that there's over 1,800 agencies in the entire United States. So if you look at the big grand scheme of things as it relates to all these agencies, and you do see violence, you do see where it's scrutinized, where it's brutal, but if you take the numbers, it's very, very minimal.
If you look at all the public contacts with all agencies nationwide compared to these bad incidents or the perception of bad incidents, it's a very micro compared to the macro of how many public contacts all the agencies have with the public.
Those are the ones that you do see. I mean,
and
before
it was brought up earlier about the media blowing it up, and we agree to that.
There was, Rodney King, there was Emmett Till, there was all these
and
people,
honestly, there's bad officers.
Emmett Till was a long time ago, and I'm trying to remember. I know he was executed. I think I don't remember exactly what. Let me. I spelled it wrong. Okay, so he wasn't. Okay. Okay, so he wasn't done through the legal system. I was just trying to remember if it was through the legal system or if he had just been racially beaten.
Yeah, and good officers will be the first ones to tell you there are bad officers. There's bad in every workforce that you're in. Everything. If it's bad, it's bad. If it's wrong, it's wrong. Mm-hmm. You know, we are the first ones to kind of, hey, you know, that's too far.
And I used to work internal affairs, and I personally arrested 2 prior police officers.
I also worked internal affairs, and I can tell you out of 30 plus of these tribunal hearings, a lot have been terminated. So there is some accountability. I think we're heading in the right direction, considering 20-something years ago, you know, you did something bad and, you know, it got swept. Now social media obviously has magnified it by hundreds and hundreds, which is good.
Well, what social media has done is just allowed everyone to see what's happening in the moment, right? Before we got it weeks later, months later, years later, so no one knew what was going on. But now we have the ability to film it in the moment and say, hey, look at this, and this is what's being captured.
It's also taken out of proportion, or out of, not proportion, out of context.
Captured. If violence that's perpetrated against people, whether they're doing something wrong or not, is so, I mean, it's to the point where it's not even harmful anymore. It's tragic. Why? Because we're all human beings. And there's a culture of violence that perpetuates within the department itself. And I've had good cops reach out to me and said, they're not listening. And if they know I'm saying anything, I'm gone or I'm going to be hurt.
Police violence is completely blown out of proportion, in a sense that it's completely biased. Why isn't nonviolence or me saving someone's life not blown out of proportion?
Can the disagreeer step forward?
I don't believe it's blown out of proportion because I believe it's just barely getting the exposure that it needs.
It is what it is. That's what it is. Each time I've encountered the cops, it's just been like the most negative experience of my life. Like, I'm addicted to the news. And every time I turn on the news, it's another cop killing. Like you said, maybe they don't report what's good out there, but they do report the bad. And I watch it every day of my life. Like, I see how the cops treat people.
If I may ask you, if you did see the good, would that give you a different perception about the police?
It's not that I don't see the good, it's that it just doesn't, I haven't seen it happen, I haven't experienced it, I haven't heard nobody in my community have anything good.
So I've seen the good. When I was 16 years old, I'm in my 40s. I actually had a police officer who was my hero. Every contact since in multiple states, multiple divisions, has violated me, stolen from me, taken from me, and stripped me of every value I ever had. The way y'all talk to me, the approach, I'm so respectful. 18,000, that's what you said? Divisions?
No, 1,800.
1,800? How many prisons are there? And how many inmates? And then we're disarmed when we come home.
But you can't say how many inmates. If what you're saying is police violence is putting people behind bars, that's their job. There's a disconnect. I'm so lost.
We can't vote, so I can't compete with you.
A lot of states have the ability to earn your not earn, but get your vote restored. I think Florida does now.
My laws. I can't carry a gun. I can't defend myself. I can't even carry a knife. The exposure is barely there. We need more exposure. I'm from the LA County area, from the islands of Hawaii originally. Every police in between them seas to the East Coast has always spoken with disrespect. They don't pull us over on a speeding ticket like, hi, how's your day? How you doing? Do you got any emergencies?
They don't pull me over and do that either.
Point on.
Yeah, they come with their guns.
When's the last time you was arrested?
Who, me?
No, I'm just saying that's the approach when you come to the car window, right? Is on guard.
I don't talk like that. So I hear where you're coming from, but I don't talk like that. So some people do that. You talk for them, but you said us. You just pointed at us and said us.
The department. All departments. All
I don't know which
I don't
department
know
they
all
work
your
for, but I work for a department, and I've never seen these people in my life. I've never seen you in my life. I've never encountered you in my life, but I wouldn't come at you like that.
So you don't cuss at people when you walk up to them?
Oh, absolutely.
When I walk up to them, no. Now, if they're cussing at me, I might cuss back. Absolutely. I'm going to allow you to dictate how you want to allow just interaction to go.
What if I speak to you with respect and you go back there and you pull my license and it says parole date 2036?
You're still going to get treated with
Walk up
respect.
to you.
I've never, not one time. So you guys are 4 out of hundreds I've
you
came
can
into
come do
contact
ride
with.
alongs
And that's
with
fine.
me.
But what I'm saying is I'm coming to you,
I
oh, what are
will
you on
show
parole
you,
for? I'm on
yes.
parole for this and that and the
Your
third.
computer doesn't
Now,
tell
if
you
you're an
what, that's
asshole,
my response.
if
Your
you're an
computer
asshole,
doesn't tell you, you got to do your job.
Yeah, and the dynamics changed because everybody's got body worn video now, or dashboard video, and everything's recorded.
Yeah,
all
but
these
that's the reason
contacts.
you guys have them. That's exactly why you guys have body cams and dash cams.
For
Because even your own
transparency.
departments don't
it's
trust
for
you.
transparency. So if I do something, the public knows why I did something. That's what it's for. I grew up in the era of body cams, so I'm fine with it. I turn it on every single time. I've had people say, hey, this person is rude, this person this and that and the third. They watch the body cam, did nothing that they said.
Bingo. And I'll
But
jump into that.
technology is policing you. So technology has little air. Human beings are policing us in the community of a community that you don't even know our values. You come from 30 miles away as a difference in the values. So I believe that it does need more exposure beyond the cameras that y'all
Well, I
hold.
think if you're going to say it needs more exposure, I think the good side also needs more exposure. I think policing in a whole needs more exposure.
I mean, I grew up with that in school, DARE programs and all these false hopes.
But that's not the DARE
That's your
program.
exposure.
False hopes. I don't know her story, so I can't really say one thing or another, but you're an ex-criminal for a reason, right? 2036. I would venture to say something recently happened. You know, you got to take some self-accountability. And it's a hard thing, it's a hard line because there are some people, obviously, that are wrongfully convicted and things like that happen. But in general, if you don't take responsibility for your actions, why should the cops care? You know, it's tough. I've had good interactions. I've had bad interactions. I've had mediocre interactions with cops. What I can tell you is, cops are human. Sometimes they've had a rough day. You don't know what they've gone throughout that day. And honestly, no one should come up to you cussing at you or anything like that. But if it happens, and it's unfortunate, and it shouldn't happen, but it does. But I can guarantee you, if you've had hundreds of interactions with cops, maybe the cops aren't the problem.
It has nothing to do with patrol and being out on the streets and working with people and families out on the streets. I see the good in policing, but I also see the bad in policing.
Mm-hmm.
So, like I said, if this one side needs more exposure, I think it all needs more exposure.
I grew up in the community. I'm not judging you, but yet you see me with a uniform, you automatically judge me. And I don't think that's fair.
Well, because that comes from her experience. That's what she's trying to say. It's like as soon as the uniform is put on, the badge, it's like, and for most, because I'm in that work, and I see it, and it's like the ego comes in, or that power. And as human beings, we must feel like we're in control. It just seems to be an innate thing within all of us. Oftentimes, people with titles and roles allow the titles and roles to justify what they do.
And I 100% agree. A lot of times, there was a study of the prison experiment where some were guards, some, like at a college, some were guards, some were prisoners, and how that, 100% absolute power corrupts absolutely, unless it's not for everybody, obviously. But there are people that when you get that badge, when you get that uniform, that power takes over. It's unfortunate, but it happens. That doesn't mean every cop is bad.
The good is there. The good is there. There's 4 of you right here. You have some conscience. That's what I'm hearing.
Committing a crime is never justified. Does anybody agree with the prompt?
No.
Everything is a crime now.
Can the disagreeer step forward?
Not everything's a crime.
That prompt, it's a very open-ended
And
question.
see, like, to me, there's a difference between somebody who steals food to feed their family or because they don't have any money, or somebody who steals diapers because their kids need diapers, and somebody who steals a PS5. Completely different. You can justify somewhat the diapers and the food. You can't justify a PS5, right?
I shared my
It's still a crime, but it could be justified.
a part of my story earlier about the person, the officer, who was there to protect, serve, and he committed a crime against me. Was he justified? Because he's a police officer, a detective. I forgave him.
That's not what the prompt is about.
And so that's why I couldn't step forward, because I had to pause for a second. I have to take a neutral stance here because that's not our reality.
I was 14 years old and I was deciding to not go to school. And my stepdad came up and yanked a cover out from underneath me, and I hit the ground off of a bunk bed. And I got up cussing him, and he slapped me across my face, and I was the one that was taken to juvenile hall. But damn it, my crime was justified. You know, I think with anybody, with any crime that is committed, there's a reason, there's a background, there's a story.
There you go.
There's circumstances that you have to find out. And us as police officers, that's our job, you know, and we'll take it from there.
So none of you as officers stepped forward and felt like it was unjustifiable the minute that you put your badge on to commit a crime?
Committing a crime is never justified. Felt like it was unjustifiable.
Felt like it was unjustifiable the minute that you put your badge on to commit a crime?
Yeah, they're not stepping forward because it's justified for them to commit a crime. Come on, that's the attitude right there. That there's a reason she might have seen cops 100 times, right? They're stepping forward because they understand that some crimes may be justified. Doesn't mean they're right or wrong. Doesn't mean that they're going to commit a crime and think it's justified.
No.
Not one of you.
I feel like
She
it's
just asked
justified.
for an instant.
Right. I feel like some things are justified for basic survival.
I'm just curious,
you
if
deal
out
with,
of 4 of you didn't have that one concept and you took an oath to protect and serve my community, his community, your community, her community, and not one of you stepped forward, I was going to step forward and challenge it. I hesitated and went back because I wanted to rethink it. Not one of you felt like when you put on that badge and that tool belt that there was no justifiable reason to commit a crime because it'd be self-defense, right?
Some
Committing a crime is never justified. I think she might be confused. Let me go back. Because stepping forward, you would agree that there's no crime that can be justified.
One of you stepped forward. I was going to step forward and challenge it. I hesitated and went back because I wanted to rethink it. Not one of you felt like when you put on that badge
Not one of you felt like when you put on that
and that
badge
tool belt
that there was no justifiable reason
that there was no justifiable reason to commit
a crime because it'd be self-defense, right? One of you felt like when you put on
that badge and that
tool belt that there was no justifiable reason. No, they agree that there are justifiable reasons to commit.
tool belt, that there was no justifiable reason to commit a crime because it'd be self-defense, right?
Some things are justified. Like I just said, basic survival. I
Food,
deal with
yeah.
transients all the time, right? They go and steal something. My department requires me to do something when somebody steals something. Now,
All right, I have a
do I
quick-
think it's right? No, but he's hungry. It's my job, so I have to do something or I'm going to get fired. Can I pull out my card and pay
I've
for
done
it?
that.
No,
Yep. I've done that.
But I can't. My department doesn't allow me to do that, so I can't do that. I have to do something. If they say, hey, I want him to go to jail, he's going to jail based on what that person said. With your situation, if she would have took the knife to the officer, that's justified to me, right? In my eyes.
Yeah.
Now, do we being justified and dealing with the consequences are two different things.
I'm totally accountable.
100% agree with that. 100% agree with that. Justifiable and still dealing with the consequences are two different things.
My years in prison made me 100% accountable for me in every action that I do and every thought that I make. So I've served federal and state prison. I have a parole until 2036 for narcotics. I've never hurt anybody. Nobody's ever overdosed from my drugs. I just got caught under the Reagan laws. I was raised in there. I've created my deepest friendships that I have in there. I've left women behind in there. The problem is that when I found myself in trouble since I've been home, the last number I would call is anything with a 11, 211, 411, or 911. My loss of faith and belief in the whole entire police community is gone. It ain't no 2% of you in my...
But I don't understand why. Because you got caught and you're put in the system? That's why you don't... There's something disconnect that she's not telling us, obviously, I don't believe. But it's just... You got caught, you got put into federal prison, state prison, you're on parole, so that makes you not trust cops?
My eyes, there ain't no 1%. Because you might be a hero one day, and then 16 years later, back against the corner, lose everything you stood for. And it happens, we're humans.
Just a prompt. Anything that you've done to
Because at that point, you're no longer taking accountability for what you did if you're blaming it on the cops. She said she took 100% of accountability for what she did, but yet she says she lost faith in the cops because they put her behind bars. I'm just so confused.
get you where you were was never justified.
If you look at justifiable, no, I was greedy. I was taught to hustle.
But why did you start?
Because I was hungry.
You were justified, but you're still going to get arrested. That's what I'm saying.
No, I don't justify it. I'm accountable. See, there's a difference. You can't.
That's not what I'm saying. I understand where you come from, but I'm still going to arrest you. I'm still going to do my job.
Because this is job.
Yeah, I'm
So
still going to
what
do it. So
is-
I understand your story. I hear you, but you're still going to jail. That's what I'm saying. Is it justified? I get it. You were hungry. You had to do what you had to do. You had to do what you had to do to survive. I get it. But you're still going to jail.
You're doing a job that the department told you to do.
Right.
You just said that, would you want it to come out your pocket to probably feed the person that was stealing something because they're hungry? Because in your humanity, you know what it's like to be hungry.
Agreed.
But in your job, you know that if you don't do what you're told, and the procedures and stuff, that you're going to get in trouble. You probably lose that job, and that's not something you want to do because you also have to feed your family
Agreed.
and feed yourself, right?
Absolutely.
So I think we can all agree, some of you have good intentions and you go in with that. But it's a department that has a culture of violence. You can't help but to pick up some of those traits. Number one, because you want your job. Number one. So I served 27 years in prison, in a maximum security prison for women. I had a sentence of 25 to life for the crimes of kidnapping and murder. That's what I was convicted of.
Pretty serious.
Did I do it? That's a different story. No person that represented a system helped me. Punishment has become the response.
Did she do it? That's another story. But she didn't say whether or not she did it.
To every damn thing in this country.
Because it's like we're out in the street living every day to survive. We're out in the street doing our own thing. When you guys as colleagues come after us, like at what point does it justify your colleagues to do all that stuff? Just because they have that badge. When y'all colleagues are shooting at us, how does that justify you guys' crimes? That's what I understood from her. I understood like when you guys are, that's what I got.
Yes, I was agreeing with what she's saying.
You're out in the streets and, you guys come and do all this and that. Who's calling? Who's calling us to get to where you're at?
All right, let me give you a perfect example, right?
Okay.
Let's say I have a broken down car. You know,
Okay.
I have a broken down car, and nobody called you. You just happen to see a broken down car, and I have my emergency lights on too, so I'm declaring that I'm having an emergency situation.
Okay.
You see me out and about. I'm on my phone. I'm in a safe area on this side, on the right side of my vehicle, where I'm not in imminent danger. I'm following all my protocols. Let's say I even go as far as putting a road flare or a cone from like a traffic kit. I cover all my T's and A's. You know, I'm literally trying to avoid you because I don't like you. So I'm doing everything I gotta do, but here you go. Woo, 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 woo. Hey, what's up? Do you need help? And I'm like, no, sir, I don't need any help. I've called AAA, they're on their way. I verbally communicated with you that I'm good. I'm in no imminent danger. I put my cones up. I'm waiting for AAA. I've relayed to you, verbally communicated that I'm okay. I'm not bleeding. You're not seeing anything going on with me that would attract you to come after me. But here you are, grabbing at your belt, pulling at your thing. Just seeking for something to go after. Immediately seeking, like you're like a predator, bro. You're literally hawking eye into your target and you're like, I'm gonna get him. Boom, and then here you go. You been drinking today? I'm like, bro, I just told you I don't need your help. Like I'm sitting here waiting for my AAA to come with a flat tire because I got a wheel lock. Okay. Oh, so, but have you been drinking today? Are you on probation or parole? Immediately it's like, dude, I'm in distress. Right. I've advised you I don't need your help.
Right.
Put up all my flares, crossed all my T's, dotted all my I's, but you continue to push the subject.
Yeah.
Have you ever go as far as like pulling your gun? Why are you getting hostile, sir?
Yeah, I'm not saying it doesn't happen. I'm just saying.
Why are you getting hostile, sir? Click. You good?
Yeah, so
I feel like you're getting hostile, sir. Put your hands where I can see them. Click.
Okay.
There we go.
So I'm going to tell you what I always used to say in the streets when I work
patrol. Do we agree here?
This is what I was going to say. I'm going to tell you what I always say in patrol. You know, and this is what I said in my earlier comment where we get painted with this broad brush. First of all, I would have given you a ride. When you say you, I just want to make sure and be clear that me personally.
That's why I have AAA though. I don't need a ride.
Hold on. Let me finish. Let me finish. What I'm saying is that in my mind, you're speaking about me personally. I would have helped you no matter what.
But I don't need your help. I've advised you, verbally told you.
That's
when
fine.
you were 10
and you
feet
know
away,
what?
and you kept coming towards me.
I would have took off
when
and
you
went
were
to
like
Starbucks and got a cup.
away.
I would have took off, went to Starbucks and got a cup. I understand that. But what I'm saying is that I'm going to tell you what I always used to say when I used to work in the streets. You know what? I can't speak and I can't feel what you feel.
So why did you?
Let me finish.
See what I mean?
Let me finish.
You guys are predators, bro. Exactly. Nobody called. Who called you?
You're not letting me
finish. So who called you?
You're not letting me
finish. But that was my question. That was your question, right? Who called you?
Did I let you speak?
But nobody called you.
Can I speak? Can I say something? Because
he doesn't understand can we get a little protocol here, the Q&A, where he talks and then I talk?
Yeah,
because he's not letting me talk.
Okay, you can respond and then I want to hear from Scott and then we have to go to the next one.
Can you just please let me finish? Okay.
I mean, I'm answering the valid points validly, you know. Just saying.
You're not letting me, you know what? Disregard.
It's good. We don't gotta agree, but you know, I gotta say like
what I'm trying to.
But you gotta have more patience as a police officer.
Well, no,
you just got a quick snap, and I can see it.
You always gotta be right. Like
I'm just
you don't always gotta be right.
When I argue, I always let the person speak as much as you can.
I think he just
and then once
the crime that was committed, like when I was a kid, I wanted to be a cop. I saw the cops. I grew up in the '90s, so they would give baseball cards, and I thought the cops were the coolest things because I had a real bad childhood, like with my parents, and I didn't really have friends like that, but the cops will be there.
I don't like that one officer. He is a little pushy. The guy wasn't letting him speak, I understand, but he's come off as matter of fact throughout the whole thing, and I don't particularly care for that kind of attitude.
But the second I got my lowrider bike, like the cops would pull me over and give me tickets, and I'd be like, why don't you stop them over there? It's like, well, we're stopping you. How are we gonna stop them? And then I would get tickets constantly. I was just a kid. I didn't know what I was doing. I like the lowrider culture, and they would give me tickets all the time. Then my parents would be like, why are you getting tickets? Like, I don't know. They just keep stopping me. And then like maybe I'll ditch school, and the cops will like, like sometimes they'll get me from a certain neighborhood and drop me off in far away from my house, or sometimes, and I was a minor, and they'll get me from the streets and take me to the police station, which I found out later was illegal. And they made me to who I am, and they made me think that I was a bad guy until I realized almost 13 years ago, I don't got to be that bad guy no more. But the cops made me who I was.
And I'll share, I've never served any time like that. I was arrested as a 13-year-old. Literally I still looked like I was 10. I was smoking weed at the park, and I got immediately apprehended, taken into custody. I got handcuffed behind my back, and then I got placed in a cop car with no divider. It was like a parked cop, you know. So no divider. And then when he started asking me about my name and stuff. So I was like the adolescent phases. I didn't want to answer him. I didn't have to.
Why not though?
He's a minor.
Because I'm a minor. You don't have to interrogate me without my parents.
You don't have the right to
Incorrect.
talk to them.
That's incorrect. You committed a crime.
See? But I mean, you know.
But I don't think you're well.
right,
I don't think you're well versed.
One second.
One second. Gotcha.
So without the barrier, and he kept asking me questions, and I just simply didn't want to answer him. I didn't have to at that point, you know. So he got upset that I didn't, you know, volunteer with whatever his demands were, and he just punched me in the chest as a handcuffed 13-year-old kid, knocked the wind out of me, whatever, you know. It went as far as violating my rights. I never even knew that I could have told his commanding officers or even the watch commander once I got to the jail, yo, this guy like sucker punched me in the chest, like he knocked the wind out of me, he abused me, he abused a minor. I didn't know any of that. Now that I'm an adult, because I'm a felon, because of course that, you know, escalated into more things like getting marijuana, and marijuana was hella illegal back then. I'll be damned if you guys mess with me like all over again, and that has happened to me.
I get it.
That's why I got road flares in my car. That's why I keep like a kid. You know?
I get it.
I cross all my T's and dot all my I's, dude.
Criminals who commit violent felonies don't deserve certain legal rights.
I agree.
You know what? I'm sorry, I can't do this. I can't do this episode no more. It's not making any sense. The questions just don't make sense to me. I
Sorry.
can't really get my point across how I want to. And the questions are kind of like reversed. Like it's like you're asking the question, but you kind of. I can't do it.
I totally understand.
I can't do it.
You can always share whether you agree or disagree.
Everybody's talking over each other. And I can't be on camera doing it.
I totally agree.
Everybody's talking over each other. And I can't be on camera doing it.
I totally
I'm trying to
understand.
get my point across at the police, you know what I mean? But I can't do that.
Yeah.
Like I can't do that, and if I can even get my point across, there's no point in me being here.
So
So I'm out of here.
Can we take a smoke break then? Oh, I can? Oh, yes.
I fear the
I've seen one previously. I think it was Cops vs. Gangs. That one went a lot smoother than this one is. I don't know exactly what's going on here, but it's not run as smoothly. I think, for instance, this guy right here hasn't talked much. I wish he would talk much. This guy's probably talked too much. And I wish he didn't. She talked pretty good, and he's talked pretty good. Like, I like him. I like her. I wish he would talk more because of what he said so far. I've liked. He has talked a lot. Don't really find a lot of his points valid. She's talked a lot. I get where she's coming from on some things, but she also doesn't make sense on a lot of things. I like his perspective a lot. I think he's very, very well spoken, and I like her a lot as well. I think they just casted wrong on this one.
other side. Step forward if you agree.
You know, I think it's part of their job to put fear in us, but it shouldn't. You know, every time just for a traffic ticket.
He wasn't going to walk up, but he decided to. I don't like that.
Or just being stopped on the street, it was always like guns drawn right away. You know, and every time they point their guns at me, especially towards my back when I'm not even looking, like it just gives me this fear. Like, and then not only that, they like to manhandle you. They like to like grip on your knuckles when you I already know the procedure. I spread my legs and I try to do everything right, and they still try to manhandle you each time. They try to like hold you so you could react and do something. It's like that it's like their job is to incriminate us. And for every traffic ticket, it was always like, I always had my driver license, my insurance, so every time they would come at me, I'll start cursing them out. Like that was me, that was my whole, from ever since I turned 18 till I was like 30, I was just cursing them out every chance I get, and I would love it. Because they'll give me a ticket each time, and I'll be like, okay, like I don't care, like I'm paying for my freedom, and that was the cost of my freedom, but I did.
That's true. You can do whatever you want. You might have to pay the price, and it might be a ticket. But see, like that attitude, if you don't see how that attitude can lead to cops being more aggressive with you, then there's a disconnect there, right? If you're going to have this same attitude of cussing at the cops every time you get pulled over, you know, making their job as hard as possible, word gets around, cops talk, and the harder you make their job, the harder they're going to make what they have to do to you as well. You know, I don't know.
I fear for my life each time. Every time like they manhandle me and talk down to me, all I would think about was my kids. Like them, if my kids wanted to see how these people act, because my kids look up to me. But to see the cops like act this way and then laugh about it, you know, who are these people? Like they bring fear to the community. They don't bring any peace or nothing like that. You know, and that's how I grew up. I grew up with so much aggression towards the cops, like so much aggression until I realized, you know what, I'm not who they made me to be.
I have a dangerous job, just like how you have children. I don't know if everybody has children. I want to go home to see my children, so I don't necessarily fear the other side. I just fear what could happen if I let my guard down while I'm doing my job. And that's it. Once you start off aggressive, I kind of have to match that because in the back of my head, why are you being aggressive? I have to understand, hey, he's being aggressive for some reason. I don't want to die. I don't want you to die. You don't want to die. I would hope that you don't want me to die. And we just meet in the middle right there.
Yeah, actually, back then I would hope a car hits them or something because the cops will come out with their guns drawn. It wasn't even no like, I'll just be spooked. And once they come to me, I'll be like, you mother, like I'll just go off on them.
In my younger days, like I'd never just pointed my gun for no reason, but I was, you know, whoa. Now it's like, oh, okay.
I mean, it's just interesting how all you guys stayed back there and didn't come. And I think you guys decided to come and show that you do have fear, but I don't think you guys really fear us, you know, the way we fear you. You keep saying that it's not you, and he's gonna keep saying that it's not him, so who is it? Nobody?
As if it's black and white, do I fear you? No. I don't even know you to fear you.
I signed up for the fact that one day I'm gonna get shot, and 20 plus years ago, I couldn't agree with you more. I totally understand that brutality and how we treat people, we treat them like I get that. Fast forward 25 years ago, because of all that treatment that we did, now you have ambushes. You know, you got situations where suspects, you know, people are coming up at cops and just executing them. And you know, so when the prompt says, you know, do I fear the other side? Well, yeah, I mean, the other side is someone who wants to take my life out and doesn't even know me. And I suppose that's a consequence of what happened decades ago where we did treat people like.
I just had to say this straight. Let's be clear. What we're hearing right now, there's trauma, right? And
Yes.
this is triggering.
Oh, absolutely.
Right? And so what we're going off of our reality, what's happened and what continues to happen. It causes us as human beings to become defensive. It causes us to become protective. It causes us to become things that we're not.
But it
we weren't
shouldn't.
born to, and it shouldn't.
It shouldn't.
Exactly.
Like I should not have to
Exactly.
stay inside my house and become
That,
an
and I heard
introvert.
of it.
And it's like, why can't I enjoy my freedoms? I'm a tax-paying American. I mean, I know I'm a felon and I can't have certain, you know, rights, but when does my fear of you guys impede me from living my life as a free American?
I'm only 30 years old, so I'm dealing with the consequences of what people have done in the past. But it's like, I'm not like that. So it's like, I get the trauma, but it's also like, I'm trying to change it. Allow me to change it.
You know what, I do have to say something like, the cops from the 90s are very different from the new cops. Because now they got a whole bunch of different races. Before, it was mostly whites. Yeah, so that's what I had to deal with in the 90s. But now it's a little different, I could say that.
Can the disagreeer step forward?
See, I like that. I like that he was able to kind of see the differences in the past cops that he kept dealing with now that there are more, it's a more diverse police unit. And I think that with diversity comes a lot of change in perspective, especially maybe for the older cops when they're like, you know, I can't speak for cops in general because I'm not a cop. But being in the military, you have a diverse military. I've learned to get along with every single type of race out there. Even when I was in other countries, we're able to get along with people because we've been in that situation. I'm not going into a situation with unknown people, unknown culture, unknown diversity, because I've been in that before. And I think that helps, you know, clear up a lot of maybe miscommunications or misunderstandings that maybe, or misperceptions that maybe some people had about different cultures, different people, different diversities, ethnicities, nationalities. And I think that really does help.
I agree with this gentleman here about the job has danger factors. Coming across people out in the field and patrol, I didn't fear them because I treated them with the utmost respect, and I treated them the way I would want my family to be treated if they were on the other end being stopped. I've had arrestees after going to the jail and processing them, get them food, whatever. A handful would say, you know what, thank you for treating me with the utmost respect.
I live in anxiety every day. Every time I see a black and white cop car,
I get it.
every time I see red and
get
blue
it.
lights,
I totally
a
get it.
uniform, I hear a little too much keys. I hear I just don't, little noises that come with your guys' uniforms. I sat up here for 15 minutes and was gonna turn around because I did not want to be in a room with 4 people that wore that badge. And it's come to that much of a broken trust because I am the most friendliest human that you'll meet. I trust everything, even a stranger walking. As soon as I see a uniform, I'm totally guarded, and I live in anxiety because of it. Me, with my parole, I could show license, registration, insurance with a smile. Oh, why you got a parole till 2036? Step out of your vehicle. Next thing you know, my little tiny belongings are on the side of the curb, and it's not even getting put back together. And then I'm late for work. Now I gotta explain to a job that hired a felon why I'm late because someone had a pissy day and they saw that I had a parole date. If you don't know my trauma, I don't expect you to evaluate it. But I don't expect a tough tone either, because it might trigger me, and then we both gonna be all types of bitches.
Totally. Totally get you.
So,
What I want to know is how you guys feel about that we're scared of you guys.
I hate it. Because how do I gauge that? I don't know. I guess I have to continue to ask questions this and that third. But I'm like, why the hell? I'm just talking to you. Like if I saw, like I said,
Because you can only put an animal in the corner for so long before they fight back. But I think that's what the police wants. I think they want a war. They want us to fight back. Because I wanted to fight back so long until I realized I wasn't that person, and I had to just go my way, like follow the path that God gave me, and I had to leave that alone. But I did have a uglier path that I was gonna follow. But it's like, the cops. It's like you guys make yourself our enemy.
I don't enjoy conflict.
Well, I'm telling you, we're all scared of you. Everybody I know is scared of the police.
When you interact with me or with any of you guys, I'm going to understand who you are as a person. And it kind of goes back to what he had said about match energy with energy,
But if that was the case, I mean, we don't really fear you. We don't. We're not scared. I'm not scared of you one bit. If I had a gun, we could both go at it. We'll do a duel or something like that, and we'll be even. Other than that, I'm not scared of you guys, but it's just the fact that a lot of times we don't have guns, we don't have knives. Like you guys think we're ninjas, that we're just gonna throw a knife or a fork and it's gonna land in your eye, and then you guys, that's not how we live. That's not the reality that we.
That badge gives you guys all the power.
what community are you from? Because I hear twang.
Tennessee.
Okay, so where do you police?
Tennessee.
You police in Tennessee? So do you police in the community you grew up in?
I do.
Okay, so out here in LA, it's pretty different. Okay, our police, like the beat, they might live there for 25, 30 years and live over here now because they've made it out. Or they might actually come from somewhere they wanted to police, but they send them to Long Beach. So a big factor is that badge that you put on, you took a responsibility to know that I don't trust you. We can have commonalities. I probably can't have to know that I don't trust.
You have the responsibility to know that she doesn't trust you. Why is that her responsibility to know that?
There is that badge that you put on, you took a responsibility to know that I don't trust.
See, like, some of the things she says make sense, and then some of the things just make no sense at all. Like, how is it that somebody's supposed to know that they don't trust you? If they never had any kind of interaction with you, how are they supposed to know that they don't trust you?
We can have commonalities. I probably can't have a commonality with you even if you said that it was your passion, other than if we could get to the way above you, because you're like the bottom of the trickle effect of the system. I need friends way up there.
Yeah.
Once you put on that uniform and that badge, for me, I'm on guard no matter who you are.
You're 100% right. We have a lot of work to do. Shows like this, us coming together and having this dialogue, it's only going to try to get us, not only just a middle ground, but to treat each other as humans. So we have a lot of work to do. I totally get it.
I agree.
To me, so that's the one thing I don't like about what he's saying, right? Yeah, he's saying, look, we have work to do. but you're a convict. Don't commit crimes. Like, and I understand he probably doesn't commit crimes anymore, right? But you gotta understand it. If they got work to do, your community has work to do.
Policing?
And just that I agree. That kind of got to me, right? He's trying to say, look, we're not perfect. We get it. We understand. We're trying to get to a better place. Don't say, yeah, I agree. You're the one that said you were cussing at cops, saying MFers and stuff like that. So
Is necessary.
I don't get it.
Policing is necessary.
Oh, you don't do it cold like
I
that.
agree with y'all.
Cold, man.
I agree because I was kidnapped, raped, and tortured, and it was an off-duty LA sheriff officer who was out of jurisdiction playing softball. It was during payphone days. He saw red flags. He was policing. You know, he did his job. He noticed damsel in distress, I guess, and he called local authorities, and the gentleman got a double life sentence due to the horrendous crimes he committed.
Good. That's good. I'm glad she can see that, somebody was doing their job correctly. Now, I wish she had never been in that position, but, policing is definitely necessary.
Against me. So I do believe that policing is necessary in certain perspectives. However, I'm going to be biased. I think that y'all don't need a police drug me. No. So I do believe that there is a reason and a purpose for your positions.
I'm sorry that happened to you, and I'm sorry that happened to you. I'm a parent, and I have a daughter. I have a mother. I have a sister, and I would never want anything like that to happen. And what you went through was horrendous, and we have checks and balances in place for that. Moving forward with a lot of transparency, I think there are a lot of changes in regards to issues with that. Like I said, I mentioned earlier, I personally arrested 2 of our own officers working internal affairs for the crimes that they committed. It didn't go over well, but it had to be done. And those are the checks and balances of transparency that these agencies have in place. So
We are not a healed race of humans. We are not in a healthy place. We haven't been in a healthy place probably ever. But we have to get there. It's not working. It causes more harm than it does good. Because even if 100 police officers do good, it takes that one to do something so atrocious, so bad, that it just wipes all the good away. And it shouldn't. And it shouldn't, but it does. Hungry people are going to steal to eat. And that's the thing. We're not looking at the root causes of stuff.
It still doesn't. It's a justifiable offense, but you still have to pay the consequences, right? Sure, in a perfect world, everybody would be able to eat, and no one would get arrested for stealing stuff for food, right? Perfect world, that would be what happened. But we're not in a perfect world.
Yes, the 4 of you, what I'm hearing, you sound like really good human beings that have a job, or chose a job, to maybe you wanted to protect and serve and whatever else, and knew that there was bad things that happened, you want to help with that. I understand that, and it's true. But it gets lost and it gets murky when we continue to see the things that happen. Policing is necessary, but it depends on how you police.
I do believe y'all need to be policed as well, though. I believe that you as police officers spend way too much time policing us and not enough time policing each other. And on all the videos, 100% has shown the facts of what partners do. They stand by, they don't police each other. They don't say, hey, stop, bruh, hold up. My homeboys, if I'm acting a fool and they know my felony, they're gonna stop me. They're gonna say, get back over here, Bonnie. Calm yourself, you got too much to lose. All the videos where there's one gone wild,
We don't do that.
not policing each other.
Right. So to your point.
Senate Bill 2?
Yeah. Well, not only that. Yeah. So yeah, they just enacted duty to intercede, or intervene. Right. So yeah, right now you act a fool and you start acting up, and your partner's there and you just watching. That's not going to cut it. You're going to get jammed up and probably get terminated. Me personally, look, in my 25 years, I spent about 12 years in discipline. So I worked internal affairs and I prosecuted cops. So I'm 100% with you. I don't think any of us here would like to have a bad actor or a liar, or a murderer for that, or a rapist, or, so that in it itself it's just not tolerated whatsoever because we're trying to do what's good. Is police needed? For me, on a personal note, I had a sister who was molested and raped when she was young, my older sister, and she got heavily into drugs. She's a 27-year veteran of meth and ended up getting arrested. She ended up having to go through the system, and I suppose at one point she got drug diversion. But all those years that she did drugs, it really affected her physically to the point where she ended up getting ovarian cancer. And so 2 years ago, I lost her to terminal cancer. My nephew, her son, the apple didn't fall far from the tree. He also committed a lot of crimes. And you know what? If it wasn't for the police arresting him and going through the system, he probably will be dead right now. Right now, he committed crimes out here in Los Angeles, and he's now over in another state where he committed more crimes. And now, luckily, thank God that he's actually going through the systems at a halfway house, has been sober for, I think, over a year. So the police, for me, not just internally for what I did, but it's super necessary for others.
I get that. And sometimes it's a wake-up call to people that they no longer are going down that path and that they can figure out what they need to do in life. And I think that is a good part of rehabilitativeness in policing. Give me 1 second. Hey, can I call you back? I'm reacting. Yeah. Right. And so our system is supposed to be somewhat rehabilitative. And so that's why when you go to jail, prison, whatever it is, you earn diplomas, earn college credits, and try to set yourself up for a better life on the outside, in hopes that you don't go back. But I think again it's a broken system, and there's stuff that can be done that can help, but whether or not that is going to help, who knows?
I mean, we do need policing in a way, but not this type of policing. No,
Okay,
that's it. It's just, this is not.
So what's your solution?
Not it. We need to find another way. And I don't mean to be funny, but I'm pretty sure you guys, if you haven't seen the movie Judge Dredd, I mean, they get to the point. They don't take nothing personal. They do their job. They get spit on. They get talked back. And the cops just do their job. Well, they're judges, but not cops. But they just do their job. That's it.
But to expect a human to do that, it's not a fair system then. You won't have people that sign up to be cops if you think that they should allow people to spit on them and treat them in any such way.
Nothing personal. It's just business. Because it is a business. Because everything that has to do with the police either has something to do with money or money comes out of it. But that's it. You just got to take the personal stuff out the equation. I think will be all right. And I mean, compassion. It goes hand in hand. But like I said, just do your job and that's it. You don't got to go nowhere beyond that.
So you're 50-50.
No,
You think
we should abolish this policing and start a new way.
But you're for the police as long as it's a better system, is what you're saying?
No, I'm not for the police. It needs to be something else now. The whole policing, everything that has police in it just needs to get out the way. It needs to be a new way of going about things.
So if you said you had kids, right?
Mm-hmm.
I have 4. Okay. If my daughter is raped, I need an officer that is willing to be my child's voice and hold the rapist accountable. Okay? I was raped. None of my family believed me. Okay? Nobody. But that one officer that I spoke to, that one cop believed me and made sure that everything was handled appropriately. And charges actually stuck.
But what's the odds of you getting that one cop? I've lost all hope in 911 and calling cops. I don't care. My community can take care of whatever happens that comes towards my family. And I do believe that y'all need a police in perspectives, but not, how would I say? Not, yeah, like the badge and the uniform ain't working no more.
We all agree that we need something better.
Nah, I don't agree at all, not one bit. I literally believe like that we should be able to.
I don't know what happened in this dude's life. He said he got arrested once for smoking pot and got punched in the center of his chest, which should not have happened. But no police whatsoever. I don't know what this guy's been through, but you gotta have some police.
Take care of ourselves, fend for ourselves. You know, I mean, when this
So
country.
so if you have a 3-year-old daughter that gets kidnapped or raped, your same situation.
Well, I mean, I'm gonna go out.
How is she gonna defend herself?
I'm gonna become an automatic criminal and probably face charges for taking matters upon my own hands. I'm gonna fall into the cycle.
And if you couldn't find the rapist or the kidnapper?
I mean, to be honest with you, like, I hate to put it this way, but I've been a victim of crimes that I've solved myself before you guys even got involved. And crimes have happened to me that I've delivered, I've handed cases to investigators, and I've done, you know, my thing. I'm not gonna go out and shoot people. I got too much to lose. But I will do my job, and I will do what I gotta do because it's my stuff. My tax dollars are paying for you guys to do absolutely nothing. And when you guys are called, I'm gonna open a beer, I'm gonna chill, I'm gonna hang out, I'm gonna probably order a pizza. The pizza man will get there before you guys do. You're civil servants of us. At what point did you go from serving us to harassing us? At what point did you go from serving and protecting us to making us inferior to you guys? At what point do...
In one breath, he's saying he doesn't ever want to interact with cops. But then on the other hand, he's like, but if I call cops, y'all don't come, so why have them? You can't have your cake and eat it too, brother.
We go from the people to, man, we're scared of you guys.
And I hear you. Honestly, I hear you. I hear everything you're saying. And,
I honestly have a better chance policing myself than I having call you guys.
Well, honestly. I'm sorry you went through what you did, okay? I will apologize for us as a whole, but you can't judge all of us.
It's not just you guys, it's a whole history since you guys started. Like in 1777, when this country was built, there was no police.
I have trouble, especially...
There were police, actually. 1776, it was the British police. But I'm pretty sure there was a police force then, of some sort.
Being a black cop is, I have been through what you've gone through, yet when I try to be a better person, every time I talk to somebody with trauma like what you're saying, you judge me based off this, but then expect me not to do the reverse to you, and I don't understand where that disconnect is.
Well, the disconnect...
If I were to treat you like, oh, this is a Mexican on the street, right?
All the time?
I don't know you, so I've never done that, so don't say I've done that, right? But if I were to treat you like that, it would be an issue. Why do you feel okay to do that? Hey, this is a cop, he's gonna do the exact same shit that everybody else did it before. That's not fair to do.
It's not, but it's not fair to come after me when I'm just driving my car.
I don't know you.
The Constitution says that I have the right to enjoy my roads that I pay for with my tax dollars.
It says you have the right to travel. It doesn't say
yeah,
you
we travel freely. Travel freely, that's the key word. Travel freely.
Right, so you can walk wherever you want to go, but you can't drive. That's under the California Constitution. But that's neither here nor there. But what I'm saying, I would never...
Pay attention, guys. I want you guys to pay attention, right? I want you guys to pay attention, because this is a big problem right here. And he claims that he's not a problem and he's in the middle. But let me point it out to you guys right here where the big flaw is. Every time that I've invoked my rights, this individual has chose to go around and still violate my rights.
What? That makes 0 sense. You don't have a right to drive. It's a privilege. I'm so confused that
You guys notice that?
Okay.
The same persona, the same, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
And it's not.
Can we move on to the last prompt because
Yeah,
it
let's-
feels like
let's
it's
go
not
to the
going
next prompt.
anywhere. Yeah, locking people up doesn't solve anything.
Yeah.
I disagree. Come on, guys. Okay, you're right. Murderers should just go free. That doesn't, because locking them up doesn't do anything. No, it solves the problem. Putting people behind bars for crimes they've committed solves a problem. A rapist in prison, not gonna rape people outside. A murderer in prison, not gonna murder people in the community, right? Solves a problem. Sorry, y'all. That just tickled my fancy. It solves a problem. Whether you want to believe it's a good thing or a bad thing, believe what you want. It solves something.
Finally, middle ground. Punishment is the response to everything.
Yes. Going to prison is a punishment. Yep, 100%. If otherwise, you need to have that same energy for a person that tortures and kills your mother in front of her. If you don't have that same energy for that, then you cannot sit down and say punishment is not a thing. I'm sorry to let you know. It can't be one and not the other. It has to be equal for everything. If you're okay with somebody torturing and killing your mother in front of you and say, okay, that person doesn't need to be punished, then the system should not be punishment by your standards, which is fine. But I guarantee you, if somebody does that to you, you're going to want that person to be punished.
Punishment, I mean throwing somebody into a system that does not address anything, any of the issues that the person might have had, the communities have.
It's not supposed to be addressing an issue. It's a punishment.
People with substance issues, mental health issues, poverty issues. Let's be clear, poverty is a crime, right? But people are getting locked up for it.
Poverty is not a crime.
Because they're trying to manage and eat and survive and just do, And so we're not addressing anything that causes these ills. Okay, let's lock them up and throw away the key. That's the mindset. At least that's how we feel because we lived it and we continue to live it.
Yeah, I think we've gotten better.
And I feel like that's where now we're getting this middle ground and this understanding that it is not the way to do things. It is not the solution.
Right. I feel like we're getting the blame for it when it's a system as a whole. We don't have anything to do with.
Stop trying to pass the buck.
If
you don't believe people should be incarcerated, you shouldn't be a cop. And then you can't be a cop and say people shouldn't be incarcerated and it's not our fault that they're incarcerated and it's their fault. It's the prosecutor's fault. It's the judge's fault. It's the jury's fault. No, it's the system. You're a part of the system, whether you like it or not. Own up to it. I believe in punishment. End of the day, that's the thing. I believe if you commit a crime heinous enough, you should go to prison. I don't particularly think that drugs and all of drug addiction should be a crime. I think you should possibly go to a rehabilitative center to do something with that. I understand that. You commit a violent crime, you should be in prison. End of story. Period. Point blank. That's my thing. Now I think there's some leeway to be given. A kid commits a crime, we'll just leave it at that. I think there should be some leeway given, but at the end of the day, punishment is punishment for a reason.
What happens?
Or you're part of it.
And
Yes.
we are part of it. Absolutely.
You're the root of it.
We absolutely agree on that.
You see, that's the thing that you guys say, oh, we're not responsible, but then you say that,
Exactly. Stop passing the buck.
oh, we're not like this, but I mean,
But no,
it's
we're
like,
responsible.
No one's taking accountability. That's one thing. I mean, you guys say sorry, you're apologizing for them, but where are they? It's like we never see them.
You're the stage before intake. So you're the level before I go in. So when I'm put in handcuffs and going in, my last real human contact
Yes.
is with the person who put the handcuffs on me, and not once has anyone ever just had a compassionate like, hey, I hope to see you make it out of here healthy, or hey, you know what, I'm
Recidivism's been 70% for God knows how long.
like 80 something.
I'd say
why?
probably 80 now. In certain zip codes, in certain locations, it's probably even the 90 or 95%. So from a societal, point of view, absolutely. I think that, locking people up is not the key. As a matter of fact, all the prisons that they made in the state of California has been overpopulated for decades.
There's money in recidivism, there's not money in reformation, and that's the problem, is that you are trapped in a system, and so am I, where it's all about a dollar amount on me, and that's just what it is.
Like, when I got locked up, like, I went in for weed. And when I got out, like, in 2 weeks, I came out, like, knowing how to steal a car. I made more connections with more criminals. I learned how to make a shank. I learned how to
It's your problem if you want to continue to associate with those people, though.
hide stuff. Like, I became more criminal going to prison, going to jail. All these, like, you just are surrounded by other people that are doing even crazier stuff than just having weed. So it's like, I came out worse. And each time I will go, I will learn something even worse. So it's like, it just makes you even worse. Like,
Imagine like having a family for 13, 27 years, right? And then you come home and you're told you can't associate with them. Like, those are my friends. And they're home, I'm home. We've relied on each other. Violation, 10-day sit down. Oh, what's your name? It's all about the dollar amount. All my support is stripped because they're felons. What support do I have? Not y'all, not the felons. I'm in the middle line too. Who supports me? My job.
We need some help on both sides at all levels. Going back what you said about financials, yeah, it is. It's at the legislative branch that where they need to make these changes, and it's going to trickle down where it affects all of us on both sides. Definitely.
And we have not
I just wish he was able to speak more. He seems really good.
really brought the elephant to light in this room right now. This system is not ours, right? It was created before any of us here. Was designed to continue a form of slavery, period. The vast majority of the 2.3 million people in American prisons and jails are black and brown people.
Right, let's see that. You give me a statistic, I gotta check it. I'm sorry. Alright. Prisons based. I probably spelled prisons wrong. No, I tenants. Prison population in Americans. Percentage of the U.S. population is in prison. Racial makeup of American prisons. Alright. Okay. They have just like an overall. Per person, per 100,000. Is there like? Yes. Okay. No, so like, there is a pretty big disparity. It seems like. I just don't know the. It looks like I wish they gave like a full American average of it, but so these are state prisons. I know the federal prison is definitely skewed. Nearly 5 times the rate of whites, and Latinos are in prison 1.3 times. Okay. Yeah. So I don't know how many people specifically are 2 point she said 2 point something million. Let's see. I don't know. I don't know if that's necessarily correct based off of just the numbers here real quick. So it's per 100,000. Yeah, so just, I think, disproportionately by percentage, it's definitely that way. I just want to know, like, the specific how many of each. Obviously, the white population is a lot more than the African American and Hispanic communities. Okay, so see, it says white is 58.7% of the total prison population, and we make up 76.5. Now, see, this is, shows, by percentage, it's a bigger percentage, but there are more white people in prison than African Americans. But percentage-wise, she might be right on that one, so. I think what she was about to say might not have been right, but.
It was created before any of us here. Was designed to continue a form of slavery, period. The vast majority of the 2.3 million people in American prisons and jails are black and brown.
So that's wrong. That by these statistics, that's wrong. Because what we have here is 58. So the majority of people in prison are, well, okay, let's see. No, yeah, the majority of people in prison are white. So that's an incorrect statistic, she said. By population percentage, she would be right, but
people, period.
It's broken, and I don't see our generations being able to fix it. I don't see the next generation, but I will tell you, I will do my part as an individual to uphold and treat everybody with respect, as I'm sure all three of these guys can say as well. I didn't know y'all from Adam. I don't know them from Adam, but here we are. We're having conversations, we're having debates, and I will still treat you guys all.
Change comes from debate. Change comes from conversations, being able to have these conversations. And I will be honest, it's a hard thing to do, have these conversations, but they're necessary in order to get change done at the end of the day.
With the same respect.
And thank you so much, guys, for being here.
Yeah. Normally they all give each other handshakes and hugs, and that ain't happening here at all, it looks like. That's tough. That's tough. I got more of these I'm going to watch, y'all. I'm enjoying these conversations. This is how you make change, is by doing stuff like this. Otherwise, you're just going to continue the same old, same old. So, anyways, y'all, if you like this video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. If not, you can give it a thumbs down. It's not going to hurt my feelings. Or you can give it a thumbs up because it ain't going to hurt yours. If you're new or you haven't yet, please do consider subscribing. It really does help out the channel. We are on our way to, right now, 53,000 subscribers. We're trying to get to 100,000 by 2029. I think we might be able to do it. I'm not 100% sure. But if you like it, please do consider subscribing. I would greatly appreciate it. And I hope you're having a wonderful day or night or whatever it is, wherever you are, whenever you're watching this. And as always, until next time, YouTube, smile like you mean it. From the Bushy Beard.